What is going on YouTube? Apexer6 again, back in with another video. This is going to be a slightly different video than we normally get into. We're going to cover a case on this channel that's going to be very gruesome. So if that type of stuff kind of turns you off, and just fast forward through the video. But I want to let you know, this is a crazy case, man. This is going to be the case of Lacey Fletcher. Let's get right into it. If you enjoy this type of content, like. If you have another case that we should cover, comment down below. And if you're new, subscribe, because we do this all the time. Before we get into this video, I just want to say a shout out to Disturbin. Again, I don't know how I'm not subscribed to that guy. Let's hit him with the subscribe. This guy is honestly the GOAT.
A couple of weeks back, I stumbled upon a very recent case which stuck out to me for a number of reasons. The case is a rather strange and distressing one. On the 3rd of January 2022, the emergency services received a call from a woman that lived in a town called Slaughter in Louisiana. Slaughter is a small town with a population of just under 900 people. The woman on the line was named Sheila Fletcher. Sheila was calling to inform the emergency services that her 36-year-old daughter Lacey had recently passed away at their home. The police and ambulance services arrived on the scene quickly and were greeted inside. The owners of the home were 64-year-old Sheila and 65-year-old Clay Fletcher. Lacey was their only daughter. The couple claimed that they had been on a trip over the weekend before Lacey passed away, and that they came back and discovered that she was no longer breathing. But upon entering the home, the first responders knew there was something horribly wrong. They were
How does she just die, though? That's my thing. The first question that I have is, how did she, if she's in her 30s, just die? Was it a drug overdose? Was it alleged that she had an illness? I just don't understand that. I can't imagine that someone that's 34 years old is gonna just die, right? Like, just in their sleep, they're just gonna pass away. I mean, I'm not saying it never happens, but I'm saying, like, that seems very, very rare. They were maybe 30 years older, you know, maybe in their 60s or 50s, okay, but 34, you just passed away? That's just the only question I have, honestly.
immediately hit with a strong smell of urine and feces. Inside
no.
the home, laid on the downstairs sofa, was the lifeless body of Lacey Fletcher. Lacey's body was in a seriously horrendous state. She was sunken into the foam of the sofa, and it appeared as if she had been laying there for a considerable amount of time.
What the hell?
Her body was covered in insect bites and sores and ulcers that had literally rotten to the bone.
Oh my
Her
God.
face was covered in large red blotches. Feces was smeared almost all over her body, face, and was matted into her hair. It was even
What?
found inside her ears. Her body was also covered in maggots. The first responders would report that her body was practically fused to the sofa. Lacey weighed just 96
fuck?
pounds at the time of her death. An autopsy report showed that the cause of death was due to a number of reasons: chronic malnutrition, acute starvation, acute ulcer formation, and a
shit.
bone infection, which finally led to sepsis. From the autopsy
fuck.
and from the crime scene analysis, it's speculated that Lacey could have been left on the sofa for 12 agonizing years. They weren't even able to say
What?
when Lacey had last been moved. It's reported by some sources that Lacey was suffering from a rare neurological disorder known as locked-in syndrome, in which a person becomes paralyzed as all voluntary muscles except for the ones that control the eyes cease to work. Although some
What?
sources do claim that this diagnosis is false, what is certain is that Lacey was diagnosed
that's her
with
at
social
school.
anxiety and severe autism. The couple were questioned by the police. They wanted to know how and why Lacey was in such a state. Both Clay and Sheila claimed that they did care for Lacey and that they would clean her and bring her meals.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. If what he's saying is right and these sick parents left their daughter to just rot into the couch, that's a different level of sick. And I almost would question them. Like, what else are you into if you're able to do that? Or do something like that? You know, your daughter has a neurological disorder where she can't move, and so you thought it would be good to just let her waste away into the couch? I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of all of these different scenarios of how this could have happened, why it could have happened. It's just not adding up. I mean, you look at this house that they're showing a picture of and it looks fine. It doesn't look like they live in a trailer park. So, I mean, not that you living in a nice house has anything to do with your character, but it just seems weird. It's just like, how does this even happen? There has to be some sort of sign. I don't know. I guess I'm just self-diagnosing, or not self-diagnosing, but I'm just trying to give you a diagnosis of what I think, and we're not even there yet, honestly. I can't give you any thoughts. It's just sick, though. I will say that.
Said that her anxiety was so bad that she refused to leave the living room and wouldn't move too far from the couch. They claimed that Lacey would defecate and urinate on towels next to the sofa, and that Lacey was in a sound state of mind before she died. According to the couple, there was no need to see a doctor, as Lacey never complained about her sores and that she was able to leave freely.
That's disgusting.
However, District Attorney Sam DeQuilla firmly disagrees. He stated for certain that Lacey would have been in an extreme amount of pain. The district attorney also made the point that on a murder charge, you have to have intent, and went on to say that he firmly believes the couple intended to neglect their daughter to the point of death. The coroner, Dr. Bickham, stated that the case of Lacey was one of the most heinous crimes he had ever encountered, and went on to say that after he inspected her body, he cried and couldn't eat for a week. When he was examining the home, Dr. Bickham said that the father was completely emotionless, and that the mother showed slight signs of grief and was crying a little bit. The Sheriff Jeffrey Travis also made a statement, in which he said, "I have been the sheriff here for 6 years and I have seen a lot of things happen, but this is by far the worst." On the 2nd of April 2022, Clay and Sheila were arrested.
Yeah, they should have been.
What is also strange about this case is that the couple were highly respected members of their community. Sheila worked with local politics and at one point worked in law enforcement. As a part of her job, she worked closely with many people in the care system, and if she wanted to, could have easily been able to get the necessary help for Lacey.
I just don't understand that. Like, how do you mentally do that?
Some of the neighbors and many friends of the Fletchers didn't even know they had a daughter. Once the news came out, one of the neighbors reported that they had not seen Lacey for over 15 years.
That's fucking terrible.
They described her as just a fun, normal kid, before becoming isolated from her neighborhood friends from the age of about 14. Her parents claimed that her autism accelerated when she was around this age, and as a result was homeschooled around some time after the 9th grade. One neighbor did ask the couple about Lacey around 5 years before she would pass away. The neighbor had not seen Lacey for some time and assumed that she was married and had moved away. He just simply wanted to know how she was doing with her life. The couple replied to the neighbor and said, "No, she's still here. She's fine." They quickly changed the subject, and that's it. The couple would never explain further as to why Lacey would never leave the house. The neighbor, of course, could have never imagined what was going on and just forgot about it. Medical records show that Lacey did not have a primary care physician. In 2010, the parents went to the doctor's office without Lacey. They wanted some advice on what to do, saying that Lacey was increasingly becoming a recluse, not wanting to leave the sofa or the living room. The doctor told the parents to bring Lacey to the hospital, yet she was never admitted and no treatment was ever provided.
They never even tried.
The couple were brought before a grand jury during April and May. The jury found enough evidence in the case to charge the parents with the murder of Lacey. It's reported that the jury was shown the photographs of Lacey actually on the sofa covered in her own feces, as well as images of her sores, ulcers, and exposed bone. The photographs from the scene were so distressing that medical personnel were on standby when the images were shown. The grand jury charged the couple with second-degree murder on the 2nd of May 2022. As of right now, a trial date has not been set and the couple were released on a $300,000 bail each. When they were released from prison on bail, the couple did not respond to questions from journalists. Instead, their attorney made a statement to the media, in which they said, "The Fletchers do not want to relive their pain of losing."
I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't be mad if you gave these people the death penalty. That's just my take. It's like for you to do something like that, it's a different level of sick. You know, if you get into a little scuffle with someone, maybe you get into a fight and then you fear for your life, you pull out a gun and shoot them. That's a lot different killing someone than killing your daughter who had all these disabilities and letting her waste away into the couch, not eat, and just lay in her own feces. That's like probably the most sick thing. Well, no, not the most sick thing a parent can do, but that's honestly up there. That's up there with you touching them inappropriately or something like that. That's disgusting. Like that's the worst. That's one of the worst things you can do. Honestly, if you had all these issues with her, why didn't you just give her up for adoption? Like what, like why don't you award her to the court? They would have literally treated her way better than you did. Honestly. I mean, it's fucked up to say. I know people that have went to foster care and they had horrible experiences, but not this horrible. Nothing this horrible. I think the death penalty would honestly be fair.
A child through the media. They have been through enough heartache over the years. Anyone who has lost a child knows what it's like.
Yeah,
There are
we
so
do know
many
what it's
questions
like.
surrounding this
I don't
case that
think
it
they do.
boggles my mind. Did any relatives ever try to check on Lacey? Why didn't the doctor try and follow up the parents when they failed to bring in Lacey to be evaluated? And surely, wouldn't it just have been easier to get Lacey the proper help she needed,
Exactly.
instead of letting her slowly die in her own feces in their house? The fact the parents did not get Lacey the help she so desperately needed makes me believe that they wanted to watch her deteriorate.
That's disgusting.
I know that this is somewhat of a short and
Like, how could
incomplete
you do
video,
that?
but as I said, I recently came across this case and just wanted to gather the information so far and share it on the channel. I will do my best to provide updates and possibly create a longer video in the future.
That was the most fucked up video we've seen so far. Like that, let me tell you, that was the most disgusting thing we've seen any killer do to someone. To just know that that girl could have had some sort of mental issues, clearly she did, and they just let her just starve and die. I mean, it literally would have been better for you to pull out a gun and shoot her in her fucking head. Why would you let her starve and die and lay in her own feces? I just don't even get it. I don't even understand. And you're her parents? That's what I'm saying. It's like maybe you need to look further into them. Because what type of people would ever do that? Yeah. You know, I picked these cases based off of how popular they are, based off of, you know, if I see something that catches my eye. I just saw that girl's face. That was the thumbnail, and it just said the case of Lacey Fletcher. And I could not have expected that it was going to be more gruesome. You know, that, I don't know, man. They should be getting first degree murder for sure. I know they didn't kill her, but your actions ruined her entire life probably for the last couple years. That's really the worst thing. That's the worst thing I've ever really heard, you know, a parent do, you know, other than touching their kids inappropriately. I think, you know, that's a little bit worse, but I mean, how could you? That's just my only question is how could you? She didn't deserve that, man. She didn't deserve that at all. All right, YouTube. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is a big eye opener, man. Not all parents are created equally, that's for sure. Yeah, YouTube. More cases like this, let me know down in the comments. Let me know down what I should react to next. And yeah, if you're new, subscribe because we do cases on a regular. This is the first one in a while, but yeah, we'll get back to it. All right, if you enjoyed this video, YouTube, Apex are out.